What's poppin', fireflies? Goddess of Fire back for another fire conversation. Hot topic today is the week of October 17th through October 23rd. And there's a few, things happening cosmically that we should all be aware of. Starting the week off strong with Jupiter going direct on October 17th. And this is really, challenging us to put forth what we've learned throughout all of these retrogrades. I don't know about you, but having these 6 planets in retrograde for so long, for like the last month or so, has been pretty fucking difficult. Like, woof. I'm exhausted. But as some of you may know, we did have Pluto go direct on October 6th. We had Saturn go direct on October 10th. So things are, I dropped some cards, so that's why I sound stressed. So things are, slowly but surely getting back to a more balanced energy. What was funny is right before I started to film this, I was using the restroom and Eminem's Cleaning Out My Closet started playing into my head. So, I mean, if that's not the perfect vibe and the perfect energy and the perfect, kind of anthem for what we've been subjected to with all of this, deep-seated wounds, all this healing. We've had Chiron also in retrograde, and that's our wounded warrior, right? That's our inner wounds, our deepest, most buried and most prolific wounds that we have. And for me, and I think a lot of people, that's going to be a lot of inner child wounds. Like, where was the damage done when you were growing up that we are working to repair as adults? But moving right along and back to the topic at hand, also coming up this week, we have on October 20th the Aries full moon. Did I skip over Mercury? I did. On October 18th, we have Mercury going direct. I'm all over the place still, because Mercury needs to get his ass back in gear, heading in the right direction. And that is encouraging more outward expression, because when Mercury goes retrograde, that's really doing a lot of inner communication, inner conversations, inner dialogue is happening here. So now we're taking, like I said, what we've learned throughout this immense retrograde season. We're learning how to put forward what we learned into our daily lives. So I apologize if you hear any background noise. Apartment living, so fun. So I'm manifesting to live in a house once this lease is up. Anyways, so back to the Aries full moon on October 20th. And what that's really encouraging us to do is to conquer our fears. Aries is, governs the planet Mercury, or not Mercury, the planet Mars, and it also is our, that's the warrior in us. That's our inner combator. That's our, action-oriented part of ourselves. It really plays into our masculine energy. So having that energy coming forward as we have all these planets going back into their, direct state, it's good shit, man. And then rounding out the week, October 22nd, 23rd, Scorpio season begins. And this is, the rebirth. So without further ado, let's get into these cards and figure out what's going on here. I just realized I didn't light my candle, but that's okay. You'll see here I have a couple of oracle cards out from the Halloween Oracle, just to see what kind of themes we're working with this week and what is really hard-hitting for us. So the first card we have is Invisibility. Side note is authenticity underneath there. And then we also have the Skull of Darkness, Blind Spots with Dawn. the light after the darkness. Wow, these are really powerful cards, and they're very telling to the energy that I've been kind of picking up on and connecting with for this week here. Wow. Okay. So I'm going to slide these to the side because eventually I'm going to break them down with some tarot cards. But going into the invisibility card, this is just really, and maybe that's why I was hearing Eminem's Cleaning Out My Closet song, is, you know, if the closet reference, coming out of the spiritual closet, kind of taking off this cloak of invisibility and showing the world, you know, our true self. Not our new self, but our true self. And that's where that kind of rebirth energy is coming into play too, that Scorpio vibe. We're coming full circle where we've burned our old lives down. That's what's happened, is we burned our old lives down. I mean, we went Lisa Left Eye Lopez on our old lives and on our old selves, and that's a very difficult thing to do. And now we're rising from these ashes. We've been purified by fire, in the sense that we, don't have a trace of our old selves anymore. I think that's become abundantly clear to me personally, and I hope it's become abundantly clear to the lot of you. But this is really just encouraging us to live in our authenticity, to no longer, hide behind cloaks of invisibility, no longer hide behind masks for fear of judgment, persecution. We're no longer living there. We're not insecure anymore. We're embracing our insecurities. We're loving those insecurities, and we're healing those insecurities. And I think that that's really what this whole retrograde season has been about, is really cleaning out the closet. I cannot escape that fucking reference, because I can talk and I know how to use words. Sorry about that. Moving right along into the Skull of Darkness. It says blind spots underneath, and initially this just makes me feel like tunnel vision. Sometimes when we're going through the healing process, we get tunnel vision, right? We have our eyes on the prize. We're trying to manifest a future. We don't want to be paying attention to anything that doesn't feel good, and that's where it's like sometimes the lines get a little bit blurred when it comes to spirituality and spiritual realness. Just like, again, going back to the authenticity, because you can't have just a love and light kind of life, rainbow sunshine, cookie cutter image, because that's not the reality of any type of spiritual growth or spiritual awakening, ascension, however you want to label your process, right? We have to be willing and open enough to face the darkness that we have within ourselves. And again, that's been a huge thing for us this retrograde season. It's really being forced, some of us being dragged through the healing process that some of us have been trying to avoid, and it may not even be that for some of you that you're avoiding anything. It's just that there's some things that are so deeply seated into, who you are, that we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel just to make sure. It makes me think it's like when we're baking a cake. That's transmutation, right? We take all of these ingredients, we put them together, and it makes a cake. And when we put that cake into cupcake pans, or just a regular cake pan, sometimes we have to scrape the bottom just to make sure we get every little bit of it, so we get that full cake at the end. I feel like that's a really strong, almost awkward reference, but I just want to, I got to say what I'm shown, right? Okay. And the dawn. the light after the dawn. That makes me think of this quote, it's always darkest before the dawn. So I feel like a lot of us through this retrograde season have been in a, dark night of the soul. There's been a lot of shadow work happening, and that's what retrograde is about. It's about a reflection period. It's about, going through the details with a fine-tooth comb, and that's that scraping the bottom of the barrel, making sure we get the last of that little bit of cake batter at the bottom so that we have the fullest cake at the end. And that's where we're at, and I feel like that kind of coincides beautifully with like end of the week energy, because we are coming into Scorpio season. We're coming out of the we're coming out of the darkness. Oh my goodness, I can't wait for Mercury to go right so I can speak. We're coming out of that darkness, and dawn is also very symbolic towards a new beginning. And what did I say? Scorpio season is all about the rebirth. So I want to go a little bit more in depth with this, calm down cards, with this invisibility, the authenticity. Okay. Yeah, so we have the King of Swords and the Five of Swords. And to me, the King of Swords is the most even kiltered energy, I feel like, in the entire deck. Besides, like, the Hermit, High Priestess, Hierophant energy. But as far as court cards go, the King of Swords is going to be the most level-headed, the most mentally stable, the most mentally strong. He's able to use his discernment. He's able to make wise, well thought out decisions. Okay. And the energy in a lot of, traditional decks, the king and the king, I think it's the king and the queen of swords. I think they both have their swords in a raised no, the queen of swords has it in a raised manner, but the king of swords has his facing down. And I think I'm paying attention to this in this illustration because he's using his sword, his truth, because swords are all about truth and our thoughts, our opinions, right? Our morals, our values. So I think it's interesting to see him using his sword as a pointer as he's reading. He's using his truth. He's using his intelligence in a very eloquent way. Like, look at how poised he looks standing there, surrounded by all of this knowledge. This is a higher level of knowledge that we've reached to. There's a huge amount of learning that has taken place. And this week, I think it's coming to the forefront and becoming a realization to a lot of us how much we've actually learned. Because I feel like the seed doesn't know it's a seed until it blooms, right? So we are encapsulated in this kind of dark night of the soul, this darkness, this cloak of invisibility, for even to ourselves, that now that we're coming out of it, we're seeing things as they are, what they are, and how to utilize that knowledge that we've gained through this period of time. Oh my gosh. And the Five of Swords energy, Five of Swords energy is like mental fuckery. And I feel like we're definitely coming out of that energy. And I'm going to pull out this Six of Wands too, because that's what's calling to me from the bottom of the deck. So that's the grounding energy of this. We're moving away from tricking our own minds into thinking that we have to be a certain way, do things a certain way, or continue to follow the sameness. This is really coloring outside of the lines energy for me. So I think that's really important. With the Six of Wands, and this is successful. This is also being seen. I feel, wow. So coming in invisible and coming out seen at the end of this. That's really beautiful energy. This is being seen. This is being heard. This is being respected. This is being successful. Okay. And that's really important. Okay. I'm going to get one more. Yeah, okay. So with the Skull of Darkness, I was talking about, kind of having tunnel vision and not being able to have that vision during this retrograde season. We've been forced to see everything. It's like we had to go completely into the darkness in order for us to have our true vision. Oh, that's deep. And because of that, we're coming out more balanced. We've alchemized. That's temperance energy. We're finding that happy medium. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. But it's also shifting focus and shifting of thoughts too. A shifting of actions, shifting of your physical as well. It's a big thing. Like if you've been thinking about, doing a lifestyle change, it's happening, and it's happening now. I don't like to say if you've been thinking about going on a diet or changing, like, no, it's a lifestyle thing, because if you're trying to be healthy, you can't just focus on one specific area to be healthy. It's a whole blanketed thing. And that's what's happening here. There's a shift in focus, a shift in energy, just a shift all across the board as far as everything in a very positive direction as we move into the Six of Swords. This is you, and I love that there's like a wind in here, because wind, I was just reading this thing that says that wind is a very clearing thing. We can sit and imagine when we're in a windy weather that our auras, our energy is being cleansed, right? So I feel like that's what's happening to us in the fall, is the veil is so thin and the wind is starting to whip around us, and that's really clearing out even the deepest, darkest parts of our souls. Six of Swords is a calming energy. This is moving into a more peaceful period of time. So I feel like, and I also being called to that full moon in there. This Aries full moon that's coming up on the 20th is going to be really important to almost like the catapult that launches you into the next phase. So this fall season is going to be really, really important for you. The Six of Swords is just peace, coming into a peaceful state of mind. And I love that we have the Ace of Cups rounding out that energy, because that's just you, that's self-love. That's you falling back in love with yourself. That's love, that's you being harmonious with all pieces of yourself. With this light after the darkness, we're making choices, we're making moves, we're making decisions. But we're being very careful with those decisions. But we're being guided by our intuition. The Eight of Wands is a lot of movement. And I feel like it wants to be both ways. So I'm going to explain how I'm feeling this. With the Eight of Wands in reverse, this energy has made us feel very stagnant. That's the energy that I feel like that we're coming out of. Like we haven't had any motivation. Things have been chaotic. We don't know what's up from what's down. Like a tornado has ripped through our lives. This is almost tower energy that I'm feeling. But it's the Eight of Wands. There's just been a lot of moving pieces. There's been a lot of things that you've been working through, personally, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, all, like, again, all across the board, that's happening. But you're more in touch with yourself than I think you've been in a really long time. And that grounding energy for this is the Two of Pentacles. So you know who you are, you know what's right for you, you know how to balance things, you know how to be, you just know how to be even. You know how to appreciate your light and your dark, your masculine and your feminine, your good and your bad. And that coming back to that temperance energy is you're balanced. Can't see this card, but let's what's happening here. I'm not even realizing that things aren't in frame, so sorry about it. But that's what this week is about. I'm going to round it off with a couple of oracle cards for some guidance. Pulled the Green Man. The forces of nature favor you. Yeah, they do. The wind is pushing you in the right direction. The star is a long journey, brings rewards. So for me, the stars actually makes me think of the star card in traditional tarot, and that's all about healing. A long journey brings rewards. Going through this dark night of the soul, we may have not felt really great about it, but coming out of it, we're going to feel amazing. We're going to feel lighter, breezier, healthier, clearer, and just truer to who we really are. So be excited. There will be some other videos to come about Jupiter going direct, Mercury, Aries. We got a lot of things to cover this week. So I appreciate your time and for being here with me today. Until our next reading. Toodles.